Hello, welcome back. I'm going to do something a bit different today. Instead of me ranting at the microphone, I'm just going to make a few little points, and then I want you guys to get in the comments section. I know probably people won't see this for another 6 months because of the way the YouTube works, and I've got no subscribers at the minute. I'm on my way to 1,000, so you can help me if you want. But the points I intend to make are just quickly about global warming. You've seen the title. So, this is the Earth. Every single human being that has ever lived and died and loved and hated, every war ever waged and every poem ever written has happened on this rock, right? You might not recognize this. It might look like this to you. And if it looks like this to you, this isn't going to be a friendly channel to you, because I'm going to look at this a few months from now. There's a man called Simon Dan who breaks this down. He's from the UK, and the idiocy amongst these people is beyond me. So, yeah, on a side note. Anyway, so the UK has hit 40 degrees for the first time since records began. This has happened before, probably before records began, and it'll have happened a good 100,000 years ago, and the UK wouldn't have been the UK. It'll have been a different part of the planet. But the Earth goes through heating and cooling cycles all the time. Like, that's what seasons are. The average distance to the sun is 92 million miles, but at its furthest it's 95, and at its closest it's 89. So we're at different distances from the sun, just on a yearly basis. So the Earth goes through these changes regardless of if we were here or not. If you could somehow Thanos all the humans away, it would still be getting warmer or colder, right? It's going to happen regardless of what we do. That being said, it doesn't mean we don't have an impact on it. So we can either speed it up, match equilibrium and live with it and deal with it, or slow it down. At the minute, we seem to be speeding it up. If you look at any chart for CO2 emissions when we started doing them, yeah, the Industrial Revolution, when we discovered that we could use coal instead of cows and oxen, and we used coal instead of horses, and we could use coal instead of man, and we made machines, and we revolutionized industry. And that was when it all started. And since then, we've had two massive global world wars that loved using oil and coal. So it's not like we don't know we're affecting it. We know we're affecting it. However, I feel like we're targeting it in the wrong direction. I live in the UK. The UK is a damp little rock of about 70 million people, right? We hardly have an effect on the global stage when it comes to the ecology, like the environment. We hardly have an effect on it. So, that being said, it was 40 degrees here. Previously it was 39. And then there's fires all over the world. It's undoubtedly getting hotter and drier. There's even satellite images that NASA have released of the UK from before and after the heat wave, and before nice and green and lush, after brown and dead. That happened in a week, right? So, that being said, this is all... I'll leave a link to this article if you want to actually read it. But farmers said crops would not normally demand irrigation, now needed it, while reservoirs are running low. The lack of rain has severely hampered grass growth. So it's really happening, right? However, when you look at where it's coming from, you can't blame Britain for it. You can't really even blame Europe for it, or Africa, or South America. Really, it's China and America. Really, they're responsible for around about 43% of all of the emissions in the world. So instead of doing it by capita, so each person's got their own individual footprint, that's not how it works. It works by the governments running infrastructure, and that infrastructure uses a hell of a lot more than we do. So I'll explain it later, but the bulk of where we put all of our resources goes into governmental sectors and infrastructure for countries. It's not people's individual lives, it's countries. So it's governmental. It's not our fault, right? So in 2016, obviously these are a bit out of date. These were the CO2 emissions by year globally. Yeah? So 35 billion tons globally. That's how much we pumped out in 2016. Yeah. 38% of that was used just for power. Just for power, right? And then Transport, 20%. So transport, about 50% of transport is us. The rest of it is like trains and government run things. So the power industry plus the transport plus the government buildings plus the other industrial combustion, it adds up to a lot that we aren't responsible for. We really aren't responsible for it. I mean, the power industry alone, like, what can we do about that? We can't make them not use coal, but China produces 10 billion tons alone. So in 2016 there was 35 billion tons, yeah, and in 2016 China produced 10 billion of those. So without China, if we just could somehow cut China out, yeah, and then put a massive dome over them so all of their gases got caught in that dome, and we measured the outside, we'd have lost 10 billion tons. 10 billion tons. There's 7.5 billion people. That's more than a ton per person of the planet, just from China. Just from China, right? So they produce 10 billion tons of emissions, and they are responsible for 29.18% of the world's share of CO2 emissions. That's just CO2. This isn't like refrigerant gases and stuff that mess up the ozone. This is just CO2, mostly from smokestacks and exhaust pipes, right? So China's doing 29.18%, and the US is doing 14.02. So if we combine these numbers, we get, what would that be? 43.2? So we get 43.2 of the world's entire CO2 emissions come from two countries. Couldn't come from two countries. Now, if you look at it another way, like, because it's fair, you have to look at numbers from multiple angles to get an appreciation for it. China produces 10 billion tons and America produces 5 billion tons. So we can safely say that America produces around about half of what China produces. Yeah, that's fair. The numbers are there. That's fair. However, if you take into consideration the population, we can see that China has got a population of around 1.4 billion people, and America's got a population of 300 million people. So America's got about 4.5% the population of China. Sorry, no, 4.5 times less the population. So China's got 4.5 times more people than America does, right? But America produces half of what China does. So America's producing way more. If America was the size of China, it'd be way worse. If America was the size of China, they'd be producing maybe 25 billion, 30 billion tons of CO2 per year. So these two countries alone are responsible for 45%. That means that every other single country, all of these, look, where's the UK? Is the UK in here? There, United Kingdom. So we only produce 0.1%. We produce 1.03% of the world's global emissions, 1%, and we've got about 0.8% of the world's population. So we're not far off, really, what we should be doing. But look at everybody else, like United Kingdom there, right? So population 66 million, right? Italy, population 60 million. Very similar figures to us, 1% of the world's emissions. France, Poland, look. South Africa, look, all these are like the second worst lot, apparently. Look, when you look at the main countries, it's China, the US, India, Russia, Japan and Germany. They're the main ones that do it. But then the further you get down, like Australia's a massive country, massive country, but there's only 24 million people that live there. It's huge. Australia's a continent. But look, the further down the list you go, look at this, man. Look how little Greece and Austria and Bangladesh commit to the percentage. Look at that. If we go right to the very end, Greenland, look at these. These have got zero emissions, apparently. Or they've put out so little emissions that it doesn't even get registered. Look, so how are these? How is it their fault? How can we blame the people of Gambia or Tonga for global warming? How can we blame those people when you look at it? And these are the big fat boys. These are the big fat boys sat at the table all bloated out, and we're here really thin. It's not our fault the room's heavy. It's their fault the room's heavy. But yeah, so there's my little rant over about global warming. But yeah, we do need to start looking. We need to start looking elsewhere, because we seem to be in this little bubble that the world's problems are caused by the West. Like, we're not the only people on the planet, you know. We're really not. There's like 3 billion of us on this side. There's another 4 billion over there. Have you even thought about Africa and Asia and South America? Have you even thought about all these people? Another thing as well, none of these people are woke. You won't find any wokeness down there. But yeah, there's my little 5-minute video out the way because I didn't want to eat your ear for too long. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you subscribe, and if you liked it, like it. Peace.